It's the holidays, and what could be a better gift for your loved ones this winter than the gift of a gaming PC? But PC components are really expensive, and the looming threat of tariffs in the coming year are only going to make them more expensive. But what if I told you a little secret? Come here. You can build a gaming PC that costs less than $300, that is upgradable, super powerful, and still looks aesthetic AF. I'll show you exactly what you need to buy and where, and then walk you through some benchmarks to prove that gaming PCs don't have to be expensive, just like shopping at the sponsor of this video, Jawa. If you are looking to upgrade your setup or find the perfect hardware at great prices, then look no further than the sponsor of this video, Jawa. Jawa is the #1 gaming marketplace to buy and sell gaming gear and get fantastic custom PCs at any budget. It's a safe and trusted platform to buy and sell hardware to a community of other PC gamers, where you can find basically any component you need. Graphics cards, CPUs, motherboards, and even cases are all available at pretty great prices. I've been using Jawa for a number of years now, and I can personally say I've had a lot of great experiences on there, not only with buying and selling, but also with the customer support. And if you just want to buy a pre-built PC but don't want to spend a ton of money at a retail store, Jawa has literally hundreds of pre-builts that are super affordable from the community of builders. So if you want to start saving money on your hardware, use the link in the video description to check jawa.gg out and use my code JASON10 to get $10 off your first order. That's JASON10 to get $10 off. And thanks again to Jawa for sponsoring this video. As usual, a quick disclaimer. I bought all these parts online in the USA using US dollars, and they don't include tax. Prices will be different depending on your country. So if these prices seem high, I recommend making adjustments where you can to fit your local market and your price budget. I can't change what companies sell their products for at any given time. I can only tell you what I paid and where I got it. So the moral of the story is, be flexible with your budget. Now to start this build, I really wanted a challenge. How can I build a PC that is under $300 but can still play some games in 1440p? It was difficult and it took a lot of searching, but I think I finally found a way to do it. Now to no one's surprise, a lot of components from this video are going to be from AliExpress. They have some hardware that simply can't be beat in price elsewhere, and they are readily available. One important distinction to know is that when you're buying from AliExpress, you need to take advantage of their monthly sales and use whatever codes you can find. They usually list them on the front of the website, but there are sometimes creator codes you can use at any given moment. They usually only last a month or so, so just be sure to be on the lookout for any special discount codes you can find and just use them like crazy. Let's start with the motherboard, and ultimately the chipset we've chosen for this build. Now at the start, I said I wanted it to be upgradable, but we can't really afford the newer Intel chips, so of course we have to go with AM4 at this price range. AM4 is a fantastic way to get into a gaming PC that can be upgradable, as most motherboards will be able to handle just about any AM4 CPU throw at it. So if you get the right motherboard and you put a Ryzen 5 2600 in it, but realize you want more power down the line, you can simply take that CPU out and throw in a more modern Ryzen 7. No platform change, no buying a new motherboard or RAM, it just works. That's why AM4 is still pretty much the king of upgradability. I found this B450 motherboard from Machinist over on AliExpress for $34. It comes in this cool white and black camo looking design, has an NVMe Gen 3 slot, and 2 DIMM slots that support up to 64 gigs of RAM. Out of the box, this thing will support Ryzen 5000 series CPUs without a BIOS update, which is great. The VRM cooling is kind of wimpy, but I think as long as you aren't overclocking a 5800X3D, it should be just fine. Wait. Should I try 5800X3D on this thing? Drop a like if you want to see that in a future video. So yeah, it's a basic motherboard without all of the fancy new features, but it should be exactly the same in gaming performance, so it's perfect for our budget. The memory I picked up is 2 sticks of DDR4 RAM clocked at 3200 megatransfers per second. There's not much to say here. It's RAM, it works, it looks not too bad with the heatsink applied, and it was really cheap on AliExpress where I picked it up for only $20. I've had no problems with basic RAM like this before, but if I was going with DDR5 or something, I would probably buy from a reputable brand. But for this, it's good to go. You should always buy as much storage as you can afford, but at this budget, a good starting point is a 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD. It's enough to hold our operating system, a couple of AAA games, and a bunch of indie games all at once. I bought this one from KingSpec on AliExpress, and it only cost $25. Now this brand is not as well known here in the States, but in Asia, this brand is well known for being a good enough budget option. It might not last you 20 years, but it does a good job of being a simple, fast drive at a low budget. I've used this brand before, and I didn't have any issues at that time, but I can't speak on its longevity, which is to say I might not trust it with my life, but for a few games and Linux ISOs, it's perfect. The requirement for our processor is that it obviously has to be AM4, relatively modern, and affordable. We have a lot of options available, but I think the best price to performance we can get at this price range is the Ryzen 5 3500X. It's a mid-range CPU that has 6 cores, 6 threads, and a boost speed of 4.1 gigahertz. This thing is pretty strong for its low price point of $35 on AliExpress, but if you can afford something like the Ryzen 5 3600 or the 5600, then I would recommend one of those, as they have twice the threads and just better overall performance, but they are more expensive. So for this build, the 3500X is perfect. But CPUs purchased in this manner usually don't come with a cooler, so we just need a simple air cooler that won't break the bank. This is the ICE 400 SE from a company called Ago, and it's as simple gets. Tower sire cooler with 4 heat pipes and an included static RGB fan. I picked it up on AliExpress for around $7, and I'm confident it will cool our 3500X nicely. The only problem is that the fan stays on RGB forever and it can't be changed. So if you have another $10, you can get the Thermalright Assassin in white. It comes with an ARGB 120mm fan and a nice all-white design. I did all the benchmarks for this PC using the AliExpress cooler, and it kept everything really cool and it worked fantastically. But for aesthetic reasons and because it'll look better in the thumbnail, I'm using the Thermalright. The power supply is the cheapest PSU I feel comfortable using in a budget build. It's the 600 watt Thermaltake White. This guy is always available on Amazon, and it got a seal of approval from both Linus Tech Tips and Gamers Nexus. And it can be found for only $40 pretty much year round. But if I'm being honest, if I wasn't making this video, I would just spend $10 more to simply get the MSI A550BN. Because for only $10 more, you're getting a much better power supply that will probably last you much longer and is less likely to have issues than the Thermaltake. Don't get me wrong, I am extremely confident the Thermaltake one won't have any issues. But if it's only $10, I think it's worth it to take that 1% chance down to a 0.1% chance. Now, those numbers are obviously made up, but you get my point. Nevertheless, the Thermaltake will do for now. And look, they don't do ketchup and mustard cables anymore. All black. In the past, when buying a case at an extreme budget, I've had to simply buy the cheapest ones I could find on Amazon or wait for a sale and see what I can get. Buying cases from AliExpress has often been a losing battle since they usually charge an arm and a leg for shipping alone, making it not cost efficient. But I finally found a case that had free shipping, and after using creator codes, was able to get the price down to about $22. This is the C275P from a company called Dark Flash, which you may have heard of if you're in the budget PC YouTube space. It's an all-white case that actually looks pretty attractive. This dual chamber glass design lets us get a better look at all of our internals, more room for cable management. That's about where the pros end. The metal is pretty thin, there's no USB-C front panel, and of course it didn't come with any fans. But it's actually a pretty good looking case that is all white and isn't a hot box like a lot of the cheap cases at this price, so I'm pretty happy with it actually. But we do need some fans, and while there are some cheap fans on AliExpress, there's really no reason to abandon the tried and true Thermalright 3-pack on Amazon. All white, addressable RGB, daisy chainable, all for the low price of about $13. I mean, they are so cheap you could buy 6 of them and fill out the entire case for only $26. But 3 is more than enough to keep our components cool, so that's what we're going with. The graphics card is objectively the most important component of a gaming rig. We want to find something that is as powerful as we can get and stay within our budget. But we also need to be aware of how strong our processor is and make sure our power supply can provide enough wattage to support everything. I made another score again on an RX 5700 XT on AliExpress, coming in at an amazing price of only $109. The 5700 XT is, to me, the new GOAT of value gaming. It's comparable in power to something like a GTX 1080 Ti or a slightly worse RTX 3060 due to some missing features. But in terms of pure rasterization, a modest VRAM amount, and a low price tag, this graphics card is going to help push this $300 gaming PC way past its weight limit. I'd go as far as to say that the 5700 XT is an entry level into 1440p gaming. While you might not be playing Wukong at 1440p 120 FPS, you'll be able to play most games comfortably at 1440p or extremely well at 1080p. It's an absolutely solid card, especially at this low price using discount codes on AliExpress. It's a no-brainer. A good alternative, if you have a bigger budget, is something like a used RTX 2070 Super or even a used 6700 XT, but you might want to grab a slightly better CPU if you do anything stronger than that. Now, this next part is 100% optional as it's purely for aesthetics, but I did find these all-white PSU cable extensions on AliExpress for like $10. I have no idea the quality of them, but they look pretty good, and it's a small price to pay to make this build be even more white and even more aesthetic. In reality though, if it were me, I probably wouldn't buy cable extensions because I personally don't care as much about the looks of the PC, but I know a lot of people do, so I just want to throw this out there as an option. You know the drill. Assemble our budget PC, take some glamour shots, do some benchmarking to make sure things are running as intended, and then back here for the price breakdown. Wait, you didn't think it'd be that easy, did you? When trying to enable XMP on this motherboard, I could not get the PC to boot. This could be some kind of issue with either the RAM or the motherboard, but I ended up using the stock profile speed of 2666 MHz. So please keep that in mind during the benchmarks. Motherboards from AliExpress don't come with a CMOS battery pre-installed, so you can pick one up from your local dollar store. It also didn't have a spot to plug in my 3-pin RGB fans, so I had to buy this RGB to SATA adapter on AliExpress for another $2. I assembled the PC and it looked alright. The silver RAM and the black GPU annoyed me so much I decided to do something about it. I took off the back plate and the fan shroud on the graphics card, which was relatively simple. I taped off the connectors on the RAM, and after a little sanding, I used a $5 can of primer and paint combo to make these components look that much better. If you decide to go this route, and I'm not suggesting you do, please do so at your own discretion, as one wrong move can completely brick your device. After letting the components dry, I reassembled them, made sure everything worked fine, and I think it looks so much better. Okay, enough yapping. Let's check out the build. Here's the total price breakdown for this PC. Some pretty great prices, all things considered, especially since most of it was picked up on AliExpress. But remember, you don't have to buy where I bought them. You can check out eBay, Jawa, or even your local marketplaces to get even better deals. Be flexible in what you're building, and don't be afraid to spend a little less or even a little more depending on what is the best price to performance component you can find for you. If you do want to build a PC that is a little easier and a little more powerful, you can check out this video here. Please like the video if you liked it, and drop a cat emoji in the comments if you made it this far into the video. My name's Jason, thanks for watching.